What's going on? It's Astronaut H, and this is the What More Do You Want Network. Now, in this video, I will be discussing tonight's game between the Chicago Bulls and Houston Rockets, and of course, this is my Bulls report. Now, the Chicago Bulls, after playing a game in which finding ways to win against a tough Hornets team, Chicago Bulls at home face an even tougher opponent in the Houston Rockets, who are not the same Houston Rockets from a year ago. Having guys like Fred VanVleet, the emergence of Alperen Sengun to go along with Jalen Green. I mean, this Houston Rockets team is totally different from the teams of the past. And not only that, with a new head coach in Ime Udoka, they are definitely sound defensively. But for the Chicago Bulls, with the return of Zach LaVine and Nikola Vucevic into the starting lineup, it was definitely going to be interesting to see how the team fared. And in the early part of the game, you definitely seen guys like Fred VanVleet start to get to his spots. And that was just something that I feel like the Chicago Bulls didn't know how to defend early. Alex Caruso was in the starting lineup in tonight's matchup, but the Bulls did go down 7-0 with like 9 minutes to go in the first quarter. But then you started to see the Bulls offense start to ramp up a little bit. DeMar DeRozan hits a shot from the wing, and that's when the Bulls started to offensively attack. Again, like I said, DeMar DeRozan was one of the staples in the early part of tonight's matchup versus the Houston Rockets. But make no mistake, you did see flashes from guys like Patrick Williams early on in tonight's matchup. But again, like I said, for the Bulls, it was an early blow that they took from the Rockets. But also you seen Ayo Dosunmu getting downhill, getting the ball to Andre Drummond. And I'll get into Andre Drummond's night in a minute. But the Bulls facing off against a team like Houston, who have guys like Holiday, who have guys like Green, who have guys like Jabari Smith Jr., it was not an easy task throughout the evening. I mean, when you look at just the level of difficult shots that were being made, not only throughout the game, but in the first quarter. But the Chicago Bulls did find themselves leading after the first. Now in the second quarter, you've seen more of the bench, I would say, for Billy Donovan. He had elected to go with Dalen Terry out there at one moment out there with Ayo Dosunmu, who hit a good shot out of the corner for 3. Now the Bulls were down in the early part of the second quarter. You seen guys like Jeff Green start to put an impact on the game. A older player, but Jeff Green is still more than capable, especially having a dunk over Patrick Williams at one time in the second quarter. Now again, like I said, with Kobe White, in his emergence, you wanted him to be aggressive, and he was going downhill, getting a pass to Dalen Terry, who I like a ton, coming off the bench and adding a spark. Also, Zach LaVine was one player that was he had his motor going tonight, especially on the defensive rebounding end, or just rebounding altogether, as well as passing and getting open shots to Kobe White. You did see the Chicago Bulls lead by 8 with about 4.5 minutes to go in the second quarter. And the defense from the Chicago Bulls, especially getting a lot of deflections, was something that was a bright spot throughout the entirety of tonight's game. But again, the Bulls, I feel like, were never going to pull away from the Houston Rockets, because the Rockets are just a tough enough team. You look at their lineup, these guys are just not going to lay down. But one thing that the Bulls had going for them, especially in the first half, was the 3 ball. At one point, they were 10 of 20 from 3. They led by 10 with about 2 minutes to go in the half. And you look at how that happened, and it was a lot of 3-point shots made and just guys getting comfortable. Now, after the end of the first half, what you did see was the Bulls being up and, continuing on to do what they were doing in the first half. You seen Vucevic with the pick and pop with Levine, and Zach was getting his teammates involved a lot in this game. You did see the Bulls with 12 first half threes, again, like I said, but you cannot put down a Houston Rocket team with as much talent as they have. You started to see Jalen Green offense emerge. You started to see Jabari Smith Jr. offense emerge in the third quarter. The Bulls did find themselves up by 8 points with about 9 minutes to go. You seen a three by Alex Caruso. But when we were starting to get to, halfway point to the third quarter into the fourth, you started to see Şengün and everything that the Houston Rockets did be ran through Alperen Şengün. And, he is their best player, if you ask me. A guy who, hasn't had that many years in the NBA, but a guy that you can lean on in what the Houston Rockets did do in the second half of this game. You did start, again, like I said, you see in the Chicago Bulls a lot of deflections, a lot of defensive steals and things like that for them to go up by 12 with about 2.5, 3 minutes to go in the third quarter. But again, Houston was not laying down in this matchup. They were not. But you did see Vucevic with a double-double, his 19th double-double of the season. You missed that if you are a Bulls fan. But that did come to, it did come to at the benefit, or should I say the reduction of Andre Drummond's playing time. Andre Drummond just was not as effective as he has been in the few games that he was starting with Vucevic out. But to close the third quarter, you seen DeMar DeRozan get to his spots on the floor, and the Bulls found themselves up. 13-point lead to start the fourth quarter. The Chicago Bulls were looking like a team that was poised to win this game and win it handily, but they just could not do that. You started to see just the Chicago Bulls, especially in the second half, fall in love with the three. They were making it at a good clip to start the game, but as we started to get down into the later stages of the game, the Chicago Bulls just could not put it together, and the Houston Rockets started to pick apart the Chicago Bulls, whether it was them getting out on fast breaks, whether it was them, feeding the ball to Şengün, and he was feasting on Vucevic throughout the entirety of the second quarter, and the second half. And what I will say is Billy Donovan should have seen that and should have elected to go with Drummond as the defense, as the defensive matchup, because Vucevic could not do anything with Şengün as we came down to the stretch. It was about 4.5 minutes to go. The Bulls were up 6. You seen Vucevic miss a three and Levine get the rebound, so the Bulls were up 8 with about 4:15 to go in the fourth quarter. Now the Bulls were up 7, and again Houston kept feeding the ball to Şengün, and they were in the bonus about a good portion of the fourth quarter, but that did not stop what they were trying to do. Jalen Green gets an and one. The Chicago Bulls lead starts to fade away. They were up 2 at this point with about 30 seconds to go in the game. You seen Şengün get to the rim, tie game 112 at 112 with about 23 seconds to go. The play that was drawn up for the Chicago Bulls just was not in their favor. You seen Jabari Smith Jr. with a look at the end of the regulation. He misses, and we go to overtime. So in overtime, you seen the Houston Rockets come out with an urgency. They were up, up handedly by 4 points, and for a 4-point lead in overtime is definitely hard to come back when you don't score. Now the Bulls were down 3 at 117-114 in OT. Şengün with a nice fadeaway jump shot, and the Bulls found themselves down 5. But have no fear. Number 8 is here. And Zach LaVine put the team on his back with an and one play to give the Bulls a 116 to 119. And then he comes down and hits a 3 at 117, 119. And the Bulls go up by 1 point at 144 left in OT. Now, in overtime, it was more of the same with Zach LaVine and Kobe White, who hit a big 3 to put the Bulls up by 4 in overtime. Now, the Bulls found themselves up by 5 in overtime, 124 to 119, and that is where things lied. The Chicago Bulls found themselves on the winning end of tonight's matchup versus the Houston Rockets. They do face off against the Golden State Warriors are their next matchup, and that is a home game. The Chicago Bulls Ring of Honor will be announced, and I seen some clips of that. But as I look over the box score of tonight's matchup, one thing I will say about the Chicago Bulls, they found a way to win this game, gut this win out, which is something that you want to see by a team who's still, finding their way, especially after having so many injuries early on in the year. Especially having, the amount of just again, like I said, uphill battles throughout the entirety of the beginning of this NBA season. It's a long season. The Chicago Bulls are now 18-21 on the year. DeMar DeRozan did play 43 minutes. He had 19 points, 4 rebounds, 4 assists. Alex Caruso with 12 points, 6 rebounds, 3 assists. Nikola Vucevic with 18 points, 15 rebounds, 3 assists. You've seen Kobe White with 30 big points, 8 assists, 4 rebounds. Zach LaVine had 13 rebounds, 7 assists, and 25 points. And like I said, Andre Drummond with 12 minutes did not have a rebound. I'm really not feeling that, but what can you do in 12 minutes? I mean, we've seen him do more, but Billy Donovan elected to go with Vucevic. Of course, the guy that's been there in that spot, so you can't, you really can't say too much about that. As for the Houston Rockets, their high man was Şengün with 25 points, 9 rebounds, and 5 assists. Fred VanVleet did have 20 points and 10 assists. Jabari Smith Jr. did have 15 rebounds in 47 minutes with 18 points. You did see Cam Whitmore with 16, Jalen Green with 18, 6, and 8. And like I said, the Chicago Bulls do face off versus a failing and fleeting Warriors team on Friday, so it's going to be interesting to see how things go in that matchup. So let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Chicago Bulls fans, Houston Rockets fans, or if this is just your first time tuning into the channel, please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you can know anytime a video is being uploaded to the channel. It's Astronaut H. This is the What More Do You Want Network, and I'll catch you guys on the next video.